Dear Excellency Minister Tina Patterson, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, it's with great pleasure to be with you today and to present FAO at this conference. As the Minister said that the previous conferences have been fundamental to focus attention and build the international consensus on the key challenges related to the food, nutrition security, agriculture, and climate change. So for this conference, we have to ensure that consensus is transferred into action. Over the past 50 years, the agriculture sector has had to keep pace with the world's growing population, which was doubled, while the proportion of people that go hungry has decreased. Thank you. These achievements has, however, come at a considerable cost. Agriculture and food production has put tremendous pressure on natural resources. Unsustainable land use practices have resulted in the degradation of the environment, loss of biodiversity, and erosion of ecosystem services. An estimated 25% of the world land is or is in the process of becoming highly degraded. 13 million hectares of forest are lost each year, and an estimated 30% of fish stock are overexploited, depleted, or recovering. So climate change adds a new challenge for the agriculture and the rural development. The poorest countries, and especially the least developed countries, are often among the most impacted by the adverse physical impacts of climate change, and even more in economic terms due to the importance of the agricultural sector to their economy. Climate change is hitting hardest the most vulnerable and is a considerable threat to already fragile ecosystem and natural resources on which they depend. Particularly high impact are being felt in food insecurity regions, such as in sub-Saharan Africa and South Asia. When we also consider that the food supply must increase by 60% by 2050 in order to meet a world population of 9 billion by that time, and we have already an estimated 840 million people who are undernourished, and it is clear that we can no longer continue the business as usual. Ladies and gentlemen, so we face an enormous challenge of providing adequate food and nutrition for all the people now and in the future, while maintaining and restoring the natural resources based on which food system and rural livelihood depend. So we have no option. We need to meet this challenge. So this is why in 2010, in The Hague, at the first of these conferences, FAO proposed through its technical document the concept of climate-smart agriculture. Nowadays, it's quite popular as CSA in short. This concept has evolved from previous FAO work on the needs to develop synergies to produce more in a sustainable manner. We firmly believe that the agriculture, forestry, and fishery sectors can achieve the three major objectives of CSA. You are not, feel new, but I still want to repeat here the three dimensions of the CSA concept. The first one dimension is sustainable increasing agricultural productivity, incomes and livelihoods, especially of the most poor and vulnerable. The second dimension is on adapting and building resilience to climate change. And the third one is on reducing or removing greenhouse gas emission if possible. Since the creation of CSA in 2010, multiple stakeholders have adopted the concept. As Hans mentioned, 2 weeks ago in Wasa, the UN Secretary General, in his speech in the high-level segment, noted to the participants that the CSA was the way forward in combating climate change and creating a sustainable future. However, let us not delude ourselves. There's no quick fix. CSA is not a single specific agricultural technology or practice that can be universally applied. It is an approach that is context-specific and requires investment and interventions which are tailored to the specific local, social, economic, and environmental conditions and needs. To ensure that we achieve the multiple objectives of CSA and benefits that we therefore need to provide the stakeholders with the data, tools, and the capacity to make the required assessments, select the appropriate options, and make the right choices. In addition, to ensure the broad participation and adoption of CSA, especially the smallholders, an enabling environment needs to be created through appropriate policy, finance, institutional, and governance mechanism. Clearly, this requires collective management within the landscapes and the integrated of different production systems and the natural ecosystems. To achieve such an approach requires the collaboration and the collective decision-making of the different actors within the landscape who will most likely have the different requirements, objectives, and timeframes. So, ladies and gentlemen, CSA is complex, but it's definitely possible, and FAO, often in partnership with other organizations, is supporting its member countries in their efforts. For example, with the financial support of the governments of Sweden, and in the partnership with IFA, WFP, World Bank, and the CGIAR centers, FAO developed a CSA sourcebook to guide the users through the CSA concept. The sourcebook provides guidance on landscape approaches, production systems, practices, and the institutional, financial, and policy options required to create an enabling environment. FAO is also supporting the creation of a knowledge platform on CSA to support the exchange of knowledge and promote collaboration. FAO has also brought together the expertise from the different technical divisions to provide the complete CSA package and support mechanism, and now is working with various partners in the different countries. For example, through its EPAC initiative, which is funded by EU, FAO is providing technical, economic, and financial and policy advices to the countries such as Malawi, Vietnam, and Zambia. So in these countries, the Ministries of Finance, Environment, and Agriculture working together to achieve common national policies and programs to support CSA adoption. However, a lot still needs to be done, and this conference, we hope, can help in meeting these requirements. So I want to therefore close with 6 key messages on which is required to move forward and scale up CSA. First, we need a better understanding of country needs, but in particularly the needs of local practitioners to be able to adopt a CSA approach. Second, there needs to be an improvement in the evidence base and assessment tools to allow stakeholders to access options, identify trade-offs, and prioritize interventions. Third, providing practices and technology options is not enough. We need to create an enabling environment for CSA adoption. We therefore also need to improve our understanding and ability to evaluate barriers to adopt and compile the tools and the knowledge to identify suitable solutions. Fourth, our coming barriers must include providing producers, especially smallholders and women, access to services, incentives, tenure rights, and safety nets to allow long-term investment required for some CSA approaches. Fifth, based on the points above, we need to guide science and research to ensure its development and knowledge and tools required by practitioners and policymakers. We need to create multidisciplinary fields of work to ensure that economic, social, and environmental issues are addressed together in a coherent manner. Six, we must mobilize and pool finance resources to ensure that the limited public funds available are used in the most optimal way possible, and also mobilize private sector's investment. So we need to eliminate preserve financial incentives and redirecting funds in the way that promotes CSA. So finally, to achieve all the above points require fundamentally one key component, that is collaboration and partnership. Being at this conference gives us a great opportunity to create the partnerships to make CSA a reality. So I hope in the next 3 days, we will have the opportunity to discuss the points above, elaborate them, come up with the priorities, and put them together in a cooperative scenario to start addressing some of these gaps. Finally, I would like to conclude by greatly thanking to the government of South Africa and especially the Minister Tina Pedersen for hosting this conference and giving us this opportunity to move forward on this important topic. And also I would like to thank other co-organizers of this conference, the NASA and the World Bank. So I wish you all very successful and fruitful conferences. Thank you very much.
Yes, I you they have somebody, you they talk. Yes, I you